You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Hello there, and welcome back.
What is this place?
Disconnected.
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 I've reached a number that has been disconnected.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Disconnected. I am here with somebody I've wanted to talk to for the longest time ever, with Liz Purchell. Liz, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Oh, thank you. Amazing. I mean, a long-time listener of yours as well. For those that don't know, Liz is a film programmer, writer, film historian, and now curator of Muscle Distribution. Congrats. Big month for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think Muscle officially launched around March of 2025, so it is, I think, basically a year, even though it had been like a couple months before that was when I started putting everything together. But like March feels like the beginning. So,
and what all behind the scenes has been happening since March of 25?
Way too much, all at the same time, because it's just me, and I'm a workaholic, which is a good thing, but also a bad thing. So
maybe we need to talk after this and share some trade secrets, because God, same, exactly the same that's been happening with me for the last year. Anyways, it's a big month. Castration movie up for sale today on the Vinegar Syndrome website. Undoubtedly, by the time that we've revealed this, it's probably sold like hotcakes, because this is a movie that people have been like eagerly anticipating. Do you feel like a groundswell behind this movie right now?
I do, actually. I mean, it's felt really, I mean, it hasn't been a surprise, but it also has been a surprise. I mean, I was in LA back in January for a pair of screenings that we did at Brain Dead Studios, and both of those were sold out, which kind of we figured was going to happen. But like the audience felt very different than the audience I've been at the ones before that, and it feels like it's breaking out into kind of like the more mainstream cinephile sphere. And so I'm just along for the ride and fascinated to see where it goes from here.
The feedback I've heard, which is weird because I don't normally hear a lot about the screenings at Brain Dead, but I had multiple people tell me that it was like an electricity in the air at these screenings. Like it was, I don't know, like more than just an event, like a genuine feeling of like camaraderie behind a movement, which is so cool to hear. And I'm thrilled. I'm glad that it's getting this attention.
Yeah, which is, it's funny to say all that for a movie that's 4.5 hours.
And that's part one, by the way.
It's part one, yeah. The part two is 5 hours, so.
Yeah, and, you know, there's a lot to say about the castration movie, but, I mean, the first thing is it's an audacious film in multiple ways. The length is, like, the last on the list of audacious things about it. But for anybody that knows you, that's not a surprise to be associated with that type of movie. I mean, the type of films that you program, the type of films that you champion are that way. So why those types of films? Why is that the type of cinema that you love?
I mean, for me, I think it's just, I always want to see something that I haven't seen before, or I want to see work that's provocative or transgressive, or, you know, isn't just the same things that everyone's watching and talking about all the time. And I don't know, maybe I get bored a little easier, or I just always want to see something that excites me. And I think Louise Ward, the filmmaker, is just flat out like a genius, and working with her on the movie and getting more and more involved with it after part one, which I just came on to distribute it. And then starting with part two, I've been much more involved with it. Has been like one of the most exciting and fulfilling projects I've ever been involved with in my entire life. So the funny thing is that when I was kind of getting everything with Muscle, you know, formulated and coming up with like ideas for it, I think people mostly know me for queer cinema, which is, you know, one of my big passions. But I didn't want the label to just be like a queer label, or any specific kind of thing. And so I kind of latched onto like the phrase like scrappy misfit films, which I think kind of encompasses a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But I think over the past couple of months, like I've been half jokingly saying to friends that the tagline for Muscle is actually freaks only, which now that I have some very respectable films in the catalog, I don't know if I should be using freaks only, but I want to use freaks only for it. So
yeah. Well, I mean, if anybody were to look at any of the things that you've programmed, which they can on your website, you've got a really robust and up-to-date, by the way, congrats. That is really difficult to keep a website very up-to-date. Very good on being diligent there. The type of films that you are programming are, I mean, first of all of them by themselves, very hard to like put in a box because they're all so different. But when you look at the list, you're kind of like, yeah, that makes sense that these are all grouped together in this way. You've programmed with the Austin Film Society. You've programmed with Nighthawk. You've programmed with the IFC Center in New York, with Alamo Drafthouse. Where did film programming start for you?
I mean, I think the first actual programming I ever got to really do was Queer Cinema Lost and Found, which is a monthly series that I've been doing at the Austin Film Society since, basically shortly after COVID. COVID didn't end, but when COVID kind of loosened up a little bit and theaters started reopening, I had wanted to program for many, many years before that and just never really had opportunities apart from just doing like some guest spots at AFS or Alamo Drafthouse, both in Austin where I was living at the time. And once I had the AFS series, it just kind of grew and snowballed from there. And it's really a big passion of mine. And the fun thing is that I view the distribution stuff that I've been doing for the past year as kind of like the Galaxy Brain, like next level of that. So
it is film programming curating for people that don't have to be in one place. So that's super helpful. Why film programming then? What do you personally get out of it?
For me, I think part of it is that like I grew up in Tampa, Florida, not recommended, which was a place where like I was always interested in film. I had a lot of other passions. I was really video games and all sorts of other things, but like I never lived somewhere growing up that had like a strong repertory scene. Like in order for me to go see the kinds of movies I wanted to see, I'd have to drive 90 minutes to Orlando to go to the Enzian or go to other cities just to like see a movie. And so for me, it was this combination of sharing things that I'm interested in and that I would want to see as like an audience member, but also to be able to bring that to other people who, maybe are bored with what's going on otherwise. I've always kind of viewed myself and my work as kind of doing what other people aren't and trying to fill in gaps that are being left.
The films that you've programmed, are there any that you look back on now and say, holy shit, I did that. Like I was able to bring this movie to an audience.
I think one of the ones that I'm really, really proud of was last year. Don't remember when it was. It might have been like March or April. I did a screening of Andy Warhol's L'Amour at Anthology Film Archives in New York. And that's a film that's never been released on home video. It's not widely circulating online. It hasn't played theatrically in the US, at least in maybe three or four decades. Jeez. And that was something that was coordinated between me and Brian Block, who does a lot of work with the Paul Morrissey estate and with Vinegar Syndrome and with MoMA. So it was 4 different people all coming together to try to do like a single screening as like a tribute to Paul Morrissey, who had passed not too long before that. And it was a funny thing where like I had seen like a bootleg version of the movie that had been passed to me, and I never really thought it was one of Warhol or Morrissey's better works.
Right.
But then seeing it with like a sold out crowd of people who like no one had seen it before in that audience, it suddenly actually became like one of their best movies. It really, really works with the crowd. And so for me, I guess I also kind of view programming as like performing these psychological experiments on audiences of, I might not like this when I watch it by myself, but like, if I can get 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people in a room, how will they react to it? So like the Weird Wednesday stuff I've been doing at Alamo in Brooklyn has been a lot of that of I don't really love this movie, but how will this play with an audience, and just
Right.
seeing how it'll work.
Is because I've never had a chance to program like that at a theater, because I've always lived far away from any decent theater. Does it feel insular to do programming like that? Do you get a lot of personal one-on-one feedback, or is it mostly just like standing in the room and listening to what people say after?
I mean, I think that's the great thing about Letterboxd, is that like I'm at this point I'm so conditioned to, like, when I get home or when the screening gets out, just checking on there. Or I mean, I love just talking to people after screenings in the lobby or outside. Or I think a great thing about New York, because everything is all about walking, it's going to a bar with people after the movie and talking with them and seeing what they thought. But yeah, I mean, that's also a big part of it. It is a social thing, even though it is also, for me, a work thing.
Are you in New York now permanently? Mm-hmm. So how is life different now from Tampa to New York for you?
Well, there was like a detour. So I was in Tampa.
Yeah, Texas in the middle. Yeah,
I was in Tampa. Then I moved to Austin. Got a job at a public radio station out there, because I wanted to be closer to the film scene there, because I knew there was a film scene in Austin, and kind of got there right in the wake of Me Too, which was really great.
Great time in Texas, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I miss certain things that I'm glad that I missed. But also, like, I feel like I kind of got the last couple of good years in Austin, because COVID really changed everything in that city. It's like when things started reopening, it's like the 2 video stores both closed. The Alamo Draft House downtown closed and was bought by Joe Rogan and became like his anti-woke comedy club. And the vibes were just like slowly shifting. And so things that were feeling really dire, especially like the last year that I was there, when it felt like just about every trans person I knew in the city was like slowly evacuating. And then of course at the end of like 2023, I did that myself. And so New York has been very different, and I think it's been hard in some ways, but it's also been really good in other ways. And I just love the film scene here, and I love how excited people are about seeing things and doing things. And I think professionally, for me too, it's great to just be surrounded by so many of my peers and people who also work in distribution or home video or theatrical or whatever.
The amount of resources alone has to be kind of like a miracle living there, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's great, because I think when you're living in like a city, even like Austin, and you're doing all this kind of work that is very insular, sometimes it becomes very easy to take it personally, or feel like you're the only one going through certain things, or struggling with this, or having trouble with that. And so to actually have like a really strong support group in person, and to, hang out with people who do lots of bonus feature stuff, or hang out with people who have their own labels, and have that kind of social venting element to it. It's been just really, really helpful and really good. And also, I mean, I think a big reason why I like doing this kind of work is because I like the people generally. And so it's great to have it be a little more social, even though it is still work.
Well, we'll get to all of Muscle in a little bit, but one of the big things that you've done over the years, too, is contribute to discs and home video stuff. Obviously, we're tap dancing around that quite a bit, but you've done stuff for Connie and Vinegar Syndrome and Altered Innocence and Severin and Dark Star and Imprint and tons of labels, like so many that can't even be named, because you and I are similar. Like, we'll break out with everybody. What was the first disc you were on?
I think the first thing I ever did was Sometimes Aunt Martha Does Dreadful Things, which was a thing for AGFA, which of course is based out of Austin. And they were getting ready to do their Blu-ray release of that, and they wanted a new commentary track. And Brett Berg, who lives in LA, I knew he was a big fan of that movie, and I think he or Joe or someone there suggested bringing me in to do the commentary with Brett. And that was like pretty early in COVID, and that was the first thing I did for them. And that kind of led to me starting to suggest ideas for releases for them. So like one of the first things that I pitched them was the films of the Gay Girls Writing Club, which had been a passion and like a obsession of mine for a number of years. I'd heard about them just through my research into like early queer cinema history. And then I think it was Scarecrow Video teamed up with some like local Seattle preservation nonprofit to digitize a bunch of tapes in their collection, and they had the Something Weird releases of some of those movies. And so those randomly showed up online one day, and I was able to see them that way. And then when I found out that the UCLA Film and Television Archive actually had the only surviving prints, like I pitched that as a release and became a whole thing. And so that was those two were kind of my entryway into doing the disc stuff. And then I soon found myself working with Frank at Altered Innocence and doing some stuff with Vinegar Syndrome and Severin, and just slowly kind of going all over the place with it.
The releases that have come out that are focused on even just the queer side of cinema, from Altered Innocence being important, VS getting their hand in at least a handful of them, AGFA championing some of the biggest ones, Severin doing a couple. I'm so relieved to see the way that these are welcomed, like improving, it seems like, over time. Has it felt that way for you also?
I think so. I mean, I think for me, it's like I try not to get too sappy, but I do have this sort of field of dreams mentality with this sort of thing, where it's like if it's available, people will watch it. And the reason why a lot of these films just aren't as well known as they should be is because they've been out of circulation for however many years. The one I always point to was Cinelicious and now Arbelosa's release of Funeral Parade of Roses, which that was a film. It was fascinating. Like when I was starting to really dive into my research and finding out that movie was actually playing in the US like in the late 60s, early 70s, and then continuing to play like festivals even into like the 90s. But because it had never had like a home video release or hadn't been like theatrically re-released, it's just like no one knew about it. Like no one younger than the age of like 50 knew about it.
Right.
And so to watch as that movie has like very quickly become like a canonical trans film, I think really kind of gave me this sort of idealism about, accessibility and canonization and how these things become, more well-known, or how people take inspiration from them once they're actually able to see them. And so it's great that more labels have been able to start releasing more obscure queer films, and, kind of seeing that sort of cycle play itself out over and over and over again.
Especially with Frank over at Altered Innocence, I'm always amazed that he has been able to capture so much of like the pillars of queer history, which is kind of wild. Like everything from Coming Out to Taxi to the Toilets. I think you're on that one too that he just put out, right? I'm always amazed, and just it's so cool to have them under one roof. And I know for a lot of people that doesn't mean much, but to see him continuously get big title, and I'm just amazed. Frank is just a wonderful person.
Yeah, Frank's one of my favorite people, and he's been so helpful too with all the muscle stuff. And it's even though I'm kind of treading on similar ground, it's not like a competition thing. It's everyone's uplifting everyone. So it's been great to continue working with him on stuff, and I see him whenever I'm in LA. And so
I approached Frank the same way when we were starting to do things, and he's so willing to be open and transparent and say, I fucked this up, please don't fuck that up, or here's the easy way to solve that. And it's just like every single time it's been exactly correct.
He's been the encore wizard for me.
Nice.
I try to teach myself disc authoring, which has been a process.
Oh, disc authoring is crazy. So with Altered Innocence and AGFA, are there titles that you've been a part of that you feel like more people need to get some eyes on? Because I would love to hear that from a very personal perspective.
I mean, the ones that I've been really, really, really passionate about and proud of, I think have kind of found their audiences. I mean, like the Fred Halstead films have been a big one because those were also, it was impossible to see the complete versions of those until Momo restored them and then Frank released them. And then like the crazy thing about that was the first full disc that I ever produced. And it was a thing where I'd been working on digitizing like the only surviving 8mm loops from Halstead's second feature, Truck It, which was like a lost film. Yeah. And then we went through the pain of doing that, even though it was just like 20 minutes of the complete movie. And then like a week before the deadline, a VHS bootleg randomly popped up on eBay. Bought it, sight unseen, had my friend Josh, who runs a record label called Dark Entries Records in San Francisco. He went and picked it up physically in person, drove it to a video lab to get it digitized, and we got it in. And on that disc, literally, like the last couple of days before, like it absolutely had to go to publication. And like that's something I'm still very proud of because I think that film really complicates and also enhances Halstead's legacy in a couple different ways. And so I'm really proud of that. And then, I mean, I think one of the other big ones is Scarecrow and the Garden of Cucumbers, the Hollywood Lawn movie, which was something that the Academy had restored a couple years ago, and they'd done a few screenings of it, and then it was just kind of sitting there and didn't have any distribution. And when I came into AGFA, when I was working there for about a year and a half, that was like my number one, like, we have to go after this, we have to get this. And seeing how that's another one that has also become this kind of quick, instant, standby of trans film programming and, the trans film canon or whatever has been just really, really exciting.
That was one of the big ones that I wanted to mention at the end here, because it was one of those titles where it gets mentioned that it was up for pre-order. And I heard so many people go, "Oh my God, I never imagined this was possible." And so the victory as a producer and as AGFA to be able to say, "We got it," and finally have that agreement in your hand has to be immense.
Yeah. I mean, and the film is great. And I mean, it's funny because it's another one where it was kind of like a psychological experiment for me, because a friend of mine, through a museum that he was working with on a project, had like a terrible looking VHS bootleg of that movie, which was never released on home video, was unseeable, was slot lost. And so like he and I watched it together one night when I was visiting New York, and I was like, Holly's great in this, Tally Brown is great in this, but the movie's not very funny. It kind of sucks. It's a shame. It's whatever. And then when we found out about the restoration being available like a year later, my friend Laird Jimenez, who does Weird Wednesday at the Alamo Drafthouse in Brooklyn, I pitched the idea of doing a screening of the restoration with him, just kind of as an experiment to see like how would this play with an audience and how does the restoration look, because like I hadn't even seen it. And like I think we sold out that screening, and it was like rapturous. People like went crazy for it, and it was a thing where I was like, all right, yeah, we have to do this. It's great movie. Let's do it. So
amazing. To think of that being, I mean, great word, to think of that being rapturous with the crowd. I can't imagine. And not to mention Brooklyn, like the best place possible to play that film with the crowd.
Well, even, I mean, the crazier thing is that was when I was in Texas. So that was in Austin, actually.
Oh,
so that movie playing in the middle of
you
Texas.
said Laird. That's right. I forgot he's there. Yeah. That's incredible. God, yeah, it was such a great release, and the art turned out amazing on that, and really captures what that film is. And God, just solid package overall. Glad you were able to be a part of that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Muscle. What is the genesis of Muscle? How did this come to be?
I mean, it was a thing where, I was saying that there was this kind of trans exodus happening in Texas.
Yeah.
I was living in Austin. I'd been working at AGFA for almost a year at the time, and it became very obvious that like me and my partner needed to get out of Texas. And so we moved to New York, and then unfortunately things didn't wind up working out. And so it was a thing where I was suddenly at a point where I needed to figure out what to do with my life and with the future. And I was getting coffee with Joe Yannick from Yellow Veil one day, and he was just like, well, why don't you start your own distribution company? And I'd been thinking about it like a little bit, but like it just seemed like such an unattainable thing to me. And that kind of gave me the little oomph that I needed to really seriously pursue it. And then I think that would have been maybe April or like March or April of 2024. And then we launched officially in March 2025. And so it was a year of getting stuff together. It was kind of figuring things out. It was kind of trying to put together like a launch slate. Like I didn't want to just launch with one thing. So I was pursuing multiple things. And, like throughout that entire process, like everyone I talked to was so helpful and so forthcoming and so excited and so wanting to help. And so like Errol and Pearl at Connie were a big help. Frank at Altered Innocence was a big help. David Marriott at Arbalos and Canadian International was a big help. Jonathan Hertzberg at Fun City was a big help. It was a thing where, like, I don't see any of these other companies as competition. It's just all people,
Right.
Kind of working together, but also not working together to try to do cool stuff. And so, it launched in March of 2025, and now a year later, it feels like there's a lot of momentum and a lot of exciting things that I'm really proud about already. And it seems like it's actually like sustainable. And so that's exciting to me.
So March of 2026 is the first physical release. And so for everybody that has somehow flown under the radar, not been able to hear, what has been happening publicly for Muscle since March of 25?
Sure. I mean, I think a big part of it has been, I never wanted the company to just be like a boutique Blu-ray label. Right. I wanted it to be kind of a larger distribution company, which of course is kind of what you're doing with Antenna now too. Because like, as much as I love home video, I mean, when I was living in Tampa, it was like the godsend to me. It was how I saw all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the home video world is kind of very insular, and because it is
Absolutely.
so collector centric, it's, I want these films to kind of get out there as big as they can. And for me, theatrical and also digital are kind of the big ways of getting, hype built around things. And so part of the reason why it's been this like long, slow process before doing any discs is because I wanted to focus on theatrical. Part of it was because we were going to launch the disc line with some other project that hasn't been announced yet. That's kind of had some delays that I'm excited about, but has been kind of a slow thing. And because just wanting to try to, do things the best I could, honestly. And so, the good thing is that it's launched now and I have a backlog. The bad thing is I have a backlog and I have all these other titles that like I've released or I've been working on, and things that I was kind of hoping to have out by now, but now are going to be kind of trickling out. And so, I mean, if you go on Muscle's website and go to the page for our specific films, that basically lets you know what's coming. I mean, I'm re-releasing all the films of Wakefield Poole on Blu-ray, including his video work, which hasn't been available too much. I have this Australian film from the early 80s called Going Down. I'm doing the first ever release of Doris Wishman's Dildo Heaven, which is a masterpiece and a really fun film. Working on a lot of really deeply obscure things connected to Easy TV, which was West Hollywood-based video collective from the 80s and 90s. Nice. And so it's been really fulfilling because it's a way for me to kind of follow my passions and to really just go all in that sort of freaks only sort of way and actually have it come together and make sense. And I think that the thing that's been really cool with it is that even though I didn't want it to be one specific kind of thing, and I don't think it is all one specific thing, I think these kind of through lines have naturally developed between all the different things. I mean, doing all this stuff about like early video from the 80s and now doing Castration Movie and a couple other like new DIY queer and trans movies that are being shot on like ancient video equipment. It's
happening a lot right now.
Another big thing for me is that I handle theatrical for Distripix and also all of Vinegar Syndrome's hardcore catalog. And thanks to some of the Pink Film Studios that Vinegar Syndrome's been working with in Japan, I've been also handling theatrical on all the Hisayasu Sato films that they've been restoring too. Yeah. And so I've got this massive catalog of like theatrical sex films. And that also ties in with some of the stuff that I am actually fully releasing myself and I have all the rights for. And so
nice.
The one other like massive thing that I don't think we've really publicly said too much about yet is that Muscle's also taking over theatrical for Elaine May's Mikey and Nikki this year. And so Elaine May, Hisayasu Sato, Doris Wishman.
Wakefield Poole,
yeah.
I want to see a double feature of Mikey and Nikki and Bijou now.
They're both movies about male bonding and friendship. So.
Exactly. Yeah, it works very, very much. the I guess like fraught rollout is not necessarily unheard of with a lot of this stuff. So it's first off, empathies. A lot of that stuff is a problem, and things come up, and we all kind of know to count on that. But it also, I mean, it rings so true with a lot of what I felt when I was doing some of this stuff, because I mean, let's just be flat out blunt with everybody listening. It is really fucking hard to do all of this at the same time. It is really hard to be focusing on theatrical, the physical media, and then not to fully pivot the conversation, but one of the big things I wanted to make sure that we could talk about, you got fucking Castration movie up on the Letterboxd video store. That was huge. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
We
were kind of shocked when we got the email, but like I'm very thrilled by it. And
yeah,
I think it just goes to show that there's a demand for 4.5 hour long trans mumblecore DIY epics.
Oh, the adjectives. I mean, not that we need to go into numbers, but first off, that had to have been huge for you. But how, like, in a nebulous way, how did that do? Like, was it incredibly successful? Do you feel like Letterboxd was very happy with it?
We, at the time that we're recording this, I have not gotten the first statement yet, but I will say that it's been really exciting because, like, you know, I hate how much I'm constantly checking Letterboxd for like titles and reviews and seeing how things are going. But like now, every single time I open up like the Letterboxd app and I go to the Castration movie pages for that, there's at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 new reviews. And it's funny because like we've had the 2 films be available on like multiple platforms. Louise, the director, has had them on her Gumroad page from the get-go. Yeah. I have them on the Muscle Vimeo VOD page, and now they're on the Letterboxd video store. And so even though there's different ways of seeing them, and, you know, some of them you can buy them, some of them you can only rent them, you know, we weren't sure if a lot of people were going to go for the Letterboxd ones because of that. But like, I keep seeing reviews that are tagged with Letterboxd video store, or seeing people mention it in their reviews. And I think people just want to see things however is most convenient to them. And so it's been really exciting to, you know, have something like Letterboxd be behind this, you know, insane, stupid project that we've been working on.
Well, that and Letterboxd, you know, for anybody that's not associated with it, this is going to sound weird, but Letterboxd itself is like a culture. There is a culture of Letterboxd. It is, in a way, like a movement of people that love film, that love, I don't know, this very cinephile-focused social media that's not social media in weird ways. So it's just to be able to get a film like this to infiltrate that is such a cool movement.
Yeah, and like I very genuinely think that Letterboxd is kind of like one of the greatest tools for film discovery. And I don't really like using the word discovery for whatever reason, but like it's a way for people to find things that they haven't heard about. And I think one example that's been really kind of confusing but also great to me is this movie Highway Hypnosis that I've been working on for basically a year now. And just like not to detour too much, but like that was something where I was doing all this work with Easy TV, and I'd heard about this movie Highway Hypnosis, which was supposed to be kind of like an experimental feature about the freeway killer, which was not 1 but 3 gay serial killers that were like doing horrible things in the early 80s. And you know, I knew about this director who had never done much outside of Easy TV and was very obscure and had no way of seeing the movie, thought it was lost. And then we were actually able to get in touch with him, and he's, you know, an incredible guy, and we've, you know, become really good friends, and I'm working on all of his work now. But we did a one-off screening of that with James Robert Baker's Blonde Death at Brain Dead about a year ago. Which was fun because like the 2 movies were paired together when they initially played at Easy TV, but it turns out that Ken, the Highway Hypnosis, and Jim of Blonde Death were both best friends for decades. Wow. And so it was really meaningful to like have those 2 back together. And literally this movie that nobody had ever heard of, that is like the most obtuse, it's like an hour-long landscape strobe flicker, tiny little bit of horror, but mostly just like an ambient movie.
Right.
It's something that should not have like a cult following, but like now it has like a genuine cult following. Like within a couple of weeks of that Brain Dead screening, like someone from Australia reached out to me wanting to book a screening of it sight unseen. And now it's played, I think, at least a dozen cities. We did a big screening at the Music Box in Chicago and the Big House there.
Nice.
Had a sold out screening at Anthology in New York, and Like for me, I think with distribution, I take it very seriously, and I feel like there's a responsibility, like on my part, or on the distributor's part, to do the best by the films and the filmmakers as possible. And so, like, that's what's really rewarding to me, is being able to have these things kind of finally have their moment, decades late, but still have them. And I think Letterboxd is a really big part of that. And I think that's been kind of also pushing this castration movie momentum, which has been great.
Well, and I mean, castration getting, the brain dead screenings alone, the Letterboxd reviews, the people, like podcast appearances, and the way that everybody is just out there saying, like, listen, if you don't know Louise, you have to see these films, you have to share. And like the story of the Gumroad, and everybody, like, get on there as soon as possible. It is, I don't know, it's one of those things, like, if you're not on the train, you better freaking hop on, like, as soon as possible, because this is a thing and you want to be a part of it. And that alone can take this crazy places, especially for a film like this.
Yeah. And I mean, the funny thing about it too, that we didn't really get into, is that when I was kind of formulating the idea for Muscle, like from the get-go, it was only going to be a repertory label. I only cared about, I love a lot of new films, but like my big passion is older films and restorations and re-releases and all that. And it was just like Louise coming into town again, like last March, for the first New York screenings of it, and then us getting lunch one day and her saying, "Hey, do you want to distribute the movie?" And me saying, "Sure, of course." That like Muscle suddenly became like a distributor of new films too. And now I'm working with Henry Hansen, who's a Chicago trans filmmaker, and I'm working with some other people. And now suddenly I'm kind of have this new niche of this very, very underground queer DIY wave that's kind of bubbling up under the surface. That's been really exciting. And so, it's stuff that other companies might not pay attention to, but I think people are, and it's exciting to watch that grow.
So if they being general consumers are looking at your catalog, what do you want them to feel Muscle is?
I mean, it's an avoidable castration movie, dildo heaven. That's what I've been saying. I've been saying that Muscle is the house that castration movie and dildo heaven built.
Oh man, this is going to do very well.
Eat your heart out. They had Freddy. I have dildo heaven and castration movie.
You wish. I mean, that alone is fun and important and exciting and transgressive. And the word, I mean, even that, like, the word transgressive is overused for so many of these things. But the films that you have, genuinely, like the classic definition of transgressive, I'm so stoked to see how people are going to respond to these sort of things. But now you got accessibility for the physical side through OCN. So why choose OCN? And I'm assuming the obvious answer is because you're so infiltrated already.
I mean, for me, it made sense as someone just starting out. And of course, Joe Rubin and I have been good friends for many, many years. And I love so many of the people over at Vinegar Syndrome and OCN. I mean, my personal film collection is on deposit in the archive, and working with like Oscar and Lindsay has been like a dream. And so for me, it's to have more opportunities to work with people who I really admire and respect, and and also, of course, like OCN has its built-in fan base, and I think maybe my releases aren't going to be the exact sort of cup of tea for people who are only buying like Tank Girl or whatever. But my hope is that people will see these things and want to take a chance on them. And also, because I am strongly focusing on theatrical and digital, we'll have a way to see them instead of having to blind buy something for $28 or $30 or whatever.
Well, and Tank Girl, as we're looking back, I mean, Tank Girl fits in a lot better with a lot of these films than a lot of the other stuff that Vinegar Syndrome has put out. And
I did an essay for that one, so I didn't mean that in a disparaging way.
There's no sidekicks, that's for sure. Sidekicks is much more male-focused than many of these other titles. But yeah, to have the option to go through OCN and get, I mean, just that sentence alone, to get Tank Girl and Castration Movie in one order, it's fucking insane to get that from one company. And it's it's so cool that the opportunity for that is there, and somebody might just take a chance because they see it there. And God, what I used the word earlier, but what an audacious first choice for a disc. And now this is a 2-disc release, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think big learning lesson: don't do a extremely ambitious 2-disc release for your first release.
Yeah, signing 4.5-hour films. So great choice for that first title.
But I mean, the thing I love about Louise Ward, the director, is that she has her own vision, and like I just throw myself behind it full force because I believe her and I trust her. And so when she decides that she wants to split the movie over both discs, even though we could probably get it all on one, it's like, sure, of course.
It's a natural intermission. I get it.
But it's funny because like the disc, it had like the first disc ends with the 10-minute intermission, and then it says insert disc 2.
Yep.
So people will be sitting there for 10 minutes watching the intermission, and then have to put the other disc in.
Speaking of the discs, when you launch the disc itself, this is such a nerdy thing. I'm so sorry. When you launch the disc, the muscle introduction is so nostalgic and has no reason to be because there's no nostalgia for muscle. It's not something that's been around for 40 years. How did you choose it? It's incredible. For
me, it's kind of I kind of wanted to do something that was kind of playing with the past in different ways. I mean, the initial concept was to do something on analog video for like my video titles and something on like 16 millimeter or 8 millimeter for my film titles.
That's cool.
And the fun thing about being in New York, of course, is that there's so many people here, and there is this kind of weird sub scene of the trans scene here that's all about like analog video and analog photography. And like I know like multiple video artists out here, and so I went to one of my friend Janie and said, would you be up to do a bumper for this? And she went all in on it. And my hope is to eventually rephotograph that off of a CRT onto film and then have that be like the alternate version of it. It'll kind of look like one of those Sato films where it's him shooting the TV with the camera. Yeah.
That is incredible. That is such a fun choice. And then to make that, like, the nostalgia for the format, the nostalgia for the actual content of it, that's such a cool idea, man. That's well done. I just seeing that for the first time, I was like, this is going to be so perfect. I was so in from moment one. You've made some great choices.
Mm. And then Louise kind of, the fun thing about working with Louise too is that she's been involved in like underground film for over a decade. Yeah. And so she has a lot of like disc authoring experience from just working on her own movies. And so she did the menu design for Castration Movie. She did the encoding and the authoring and all that. And so she did something that's kind of similar to another major label that I think should eventually pick up Castration Movie once it's all done. I'm not going to name the label, but it's kind of riffing off of their design.
The menu itself is very close, but I love it. And I hope people pick up on that because it is clean, it's easy to read, it's enticing, and it really draws you into like the making of and everything else that's on the disc.
I think the one thing that was disappointing is we wanted, if we could, we would have had the disc be a flipper disc. Just to fully go for the circa like 2002.
Later. God, that would have been fun.
Yeah.
That would be great.
I mean, just to like jump way back when you were asking about like things that I was like proud of with like the production work.
Yeah.
I think one of my other favorite things was working with Frank and Vera Drew on the People's Joker Blu-ray.
Solid disc.
I threw out the idea of why don't we make this like an annoying early 2000s DVD and have the video of her telling people to like hurry up and choose an option, and she shot that like 15-minute long video that plays in the background of that.
I think I talked about it on my show, but I put that in and I let it sit there for a minute. And the thing it reminded me of, I think it was, this is so dumb, I think it was Shrek 2 that it like berated you when the DVD was in there. And my sister used to watch that movie all the time. And yeah, hilarious. I bring back fun menu designs, everybody. It is so great.
The amount of times I've been to like a walk-in clinic and just like the Finding Nemo DVD menu has just been playing on a loop.
Just waiting. Incredible. Okay, so getting back to Castration Movie, for those that have not seen it, we probably should lay out what exactly is Castration Movie and why should people take a chance on it today?
I mean, I think people should take a chance on it because, I mean, I will say the one thing is that it's 4.5 hours long and we're not charging more for it. And so
and that's a hell of a chance to take, by the way, 4.5 hours.
It is the most movie, as Luis has been describing it.
Yeah.
It's just a movie that's unlike anything else that's being made today. It is a 4.5 hour long underground DIY insane cringe comedy, but also very emotional indie epic that was entirely shot with Luis's childhood Hi8 video camera. It is very long, but I think it runs it goes by very fast. And also, I think once you watch it, the length makes sense. There's a reason for it. You're supposed to really just sink in and get to know these different characters. And I also think just the way that Luis has been making it has been really unlike anything else I've ever seen. And
Agreed.
The first one was maybe a little more conventionally shot, but I was very involved with the second one, which is 5 hours long. And that one was a one where not a single scene was shot more than once. There was no written out script. Everything was kind of workshopped with each of the actors, in advance of doing the one and only take of each scene, where we would kind of workshop, at this point, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, camera's going to move here, this is going to happen. And then, of course, because she's such a talented director, she would tell certain actors certain things or give them secret knowledge that other people weren't supposed to know, or find ways to kind of mess things up in a very purposeful way. And so the movies have this very electric energy to them that is just truly unlike anything I've ever seen. And also, I know that trans stuff has a very small audience, of course, but I think cis audiences will get a lot out of it too. And a lot of the people who have been coming out to the recent screenings have been like cis people and more like normal cinephiles, and they've been really, really getting into it too. And so it really is just like a modern of epic life, and it's an ongoing project. And we released part 2 exactly 2 months after we shot it in September, and then the first chapter of part 3 is premiering at BFI Flare in London this month. And then the full version of part 3, which is also going to be somewhere around 5 hours, is premiering later this year. And so there's five parts. So,
wow. Well, I can't wait until we can, in 3 years, pick up the 10-disc box set from Muscle to get all of them together. And then hopefully that other company that can be flattered with the menu designs can put the plan too. That would
they should. It's already longer than the Decalogue and the Human Condition, so why not? They need a longer movie. And
it's like a modern companion piece to a couple of in kind of a couple ways. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. God, this is so cool. I mean, just watching your involvement increase over the years, watching the amount of Liz out in the world increase in a way that is meaningful to you and to the overall film society, whether that be in Texas or New York, has just been great. And now curating for the masses. That's a big growth period. What's next for you think?
I mean, for me, it's just further digging into my own obsessions and my passions and doing the things that I want to do and trying to make it financially sustainable, which I think it already kind of is. I think the thing maybe people don't realize about this sort of, maybe not the industry as a whole, but like this subsection of the industry, is that like nobody's getting rich off this stuff. It's all, we're all fighting for crumbs. And so just getting to a place where I have enough crumbs so that I can like fully devote everything to it is kind of the goal. And also have like a life beyond just working every single day, every single night. But it feels very attainable, and it's, been really exciting and something I'm very proud of, that I haven't really had to make any sort of concessions, really. I'm not going after things that I think are overly palatable. I'm following my whims and doing the things that make me excited. And so far the audiences have turned out for them. And that's been really, really great.
Well, and this is a pretty rare opportunity to find two people that are both kind of entering this in a very unique and interesting modern way and taking a pretty big risk. How do you personally feel about the future of all this? Because, the crumbs idea is terrifying, but in lots of ways, I feel like there's a lot more potential on the horizon.
I think there is. I just think For me, I guess I'm really curious about the future of the home video side of things, and I know I'm on a home video centric show, and I don't want to be negative or anything.
Be
but
negative, please.
But for me, like the thing that excites me most is theatrical, just because it is such a tangible, in-person connective thing. Whereas when I'm doing stuff for Blu-ray or UHD or whatever, I'm just kind of throwing it out into the world and then don't really know if people like it or if it's doing good or if it's bad. Or, I mean, that was kind of always my thing when I was really doing a lot of bonus features, was like I would never really hear about, if people like the commentaries or people like the essays or the this or the that. And I mean, the fun thing about being in New York too is because there is such a film scene here. Like I actually hear from random people all the time that they liked the commentary that I did for Russ Meyer's Up, or the commentary that I did for Factory Girl, of all things. And so it's been cool to see that stuff actually, have a meaning for people and that people like it. Yeah. It's just, for me, theatrical is exciting because it is really the way that these sort of revivals begin, and that then carries over to the Blu-ray.
Well, and still theatrically, still the best way to see all of these movies. I mean, well, there's I shouldn't say all. There's a handful of movies that have been very focused on the home video side, and we all know some of those things. But most movies, in a group, in a theater, a super dark room, that is the best way to see these. Let them wash over you. Let you, no phones. Fucking Alamo, don't change this process. Or all these other things. That's the way to watch these films. Even Castration movie. It's one of those things where you should be lost in that world for 4.5 hours and live there.
Yeah. I mean, I will say the funny thing too with like Castration movie, kind of going back to the whole psychological experiment thing, was that like before I signed on to distribute it, like I had watched it like on Vimeo by myself, and I liked it a lot, but it was, you watch it by yourself and it just makes you want to like claw your skin off because it's so it's so cringy in a good way. It makes you feel uncomfortable seeing these people say these things and do these things. It makes you feel bad. But then when you watch it with more than one person, and especially if you see it in a theater with like a big crowd, like it is like one of the funniest comedies I think of recent memory. Like especially the first chapter, Incel Superman, which is about basically the making of an incel, and some of the scenes in that are just so insanely funny. Like I remember, I think it was maybe a day or two after I agreed to distribute it, I went to one of the screenings that Luis was doing at the Roxy here in New York, and I sat next to Joe Yannick. And he was like one of the very few cis people in the audience, and just listening to him like laughing from like moment 1 to like moment 4 hours and 30 minutes later, I was like, okay, there's an audience here. I got this. He's going to do well.
Well, and full circle with him being the one urging you to distribute to begin with. That's got to be pretty cool. I mean, Joe and his hair are great people. Yeah.
What's short enough? He got a haircut.
I haven't seen it. Then I wish I could see Joe in person. But God, the last time I talked to him, man, his hair was 90% of the screen when I interviewed him. But I mean, Yellow Veil is kind of the perfect example of one of these things. They have exploded to be, a not just a distributor, but like a group that people are seeking out, a group of people that people want to be involved with, that people want, excited to have associated with their name. And I could easily see this in, a very short period of time, somebody saying Muscle's the only place for me.
Yeah, already happening in a fun way.
Look at that. Liz, anything else that I should bring up that I have not yet? You got a Criterion thing this month? You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm excited about right now is that I've been in the middle of, I think since maybe October, doing a very slow release of 7 films by German lesbian filmmaker Monika Treut. Films like Seduction the Cruel Woman, which stars Udo Kier, Virgin Machine, which is like a really great controversial lesbian comedy from the late 80s. My Father is Coming, which is like a New York comedy starring Annie Sprinkle. And then a couple documentaries she made in the 90s and 2000s, like Gender Knots and Female Misbehavior. Those are films that, kind of like what we've been talking about this whole time. They were actually pretty big in the 90s and the 80s when they were first coming out. Like even beyond just like the queer film festival scene, they were like on the broader indie film scene.
Right.
And then they've just been kind of out of like widespread circulation in North America for well over a decade. Like I wanted to program them for many years, but I could never actually get a screening together. And so now I'm distributing 7 of those films through Muscle and bringing them back out. And beginning this month, March, those 7 films are on the Criterion channel, I think, for like the next year or two. And so I'm really excited for people to see them because I think they're really incredibly fun, incredibly transgressive, incredibly ahead of their time films that not enough people have seen. And especially with Udo Kier recently passing, unfortunately, like seeing him get cucked for 80 minutes in Seduction of a Woman is just so great. It's like the lesbian version of Fassbinder's Corral. It's maybe better than that movie. And so and we're still doing screenings of those. I think they're going to be coming to the Music Box in Chicago fairly soon after this comes out. And I'm very excited to help get her work back out there again because I think the films are so good.
Well, and I mean, that means Boys in the Sand will be out soon. That means all these other things are finally going to be out there again for people to be able to see and rediscover in a way that they've never had a chance to before. So that's always cool. Yeah,
it's really exciting and meaningful and overwhelming and stressful, but I think the good mostly outweighs the bad.
Yeah. With Muscle, you've got the digital, you've got the theatrical, you've got the home video. If somebody wants to stay up to date on all of that, I assume social media and email list are the best way to go?
Yeah, I have an email list, which you can find at the website, which is muscle-distribution.com. I would say Instagram is actually probably the best. There is a Facebook page, but I just mostly cross-post because I don't know about anyone listening to this, but I'm actually trying to stay off of social media because I think it's just bad for people in general. But the needs to promote outweigh personal feelings.
This is true. I hate it. But what is, and this might be a hard question to answer, what is, if they just straight want to support Muscle, not just follow, but support, what is the best way to support you? What is the thing that gets the most money in Muscle's pockets?
I would say, honestly, like if you like the kinds of films that are in the catalog, either the ones that I am fully distributing myself or the ones that I am helping with theatrical with for Dystropix and Vinegar Syndrome and the Sato films, go to your local theater and tell them that you want to see them. I think sometimes with these very transgressive, very edgy, very obscure films, programmers just want to... I think they might want to show them, but they're nervous that people won't come out to them or that they won't have an audience for them. And so, maybe they're more drawn to just pick something from Janus Films or from some other massive catalog that they know is going to get, butts in the seats. So I think people going to the theaters and saying, you should show Castration Movie or show Turtle Vision or show Rewind or show Radley Metzger film or show this or show that. I think, it's a way to... get these films seen by bigger audiences and out there more, but it's also a way for people who are interested in programming to hopefully find those inroads to start doing it themselves. I think one of the things that's been really fun with Castration Movies specifically too is that we have all these people who have never put on events before, but who want to show the movie in their city or their town. Yeah. And so they are organizing these like very DIY screenings. And because, for me, it's all about the films, I'm very flexible on terms and up to just do splits or very, very, very low minimums or just finding ways to make it so the films can be shown and so that they can hit their audience. And so I think theatrical is kind of the way, but also buy the Blu-rays, and I might be launching a Substack or a Patreon or something like that soon.
Oh, so. Nice. Very nice. I'll be sure to link everything in the description below for everybody. But I mean, one thing that you just said is probably, I think, a great way to cap this conversation, because all of your films that you are, not even just your stuff, but the stuff that you're helping distribute theatrically for Vinegar Syndrome and Dystropix, they all inherently are kind of event films. And that's easy to say about a 4.5 hour movie. I get that. But even something like Turtle Vision, it's not a movie you accidentally go to is probably the best way to say that. And so these are kind of, in a way, risky films for some of these theaters to program, because if people are not into it, they're just not going to show up. They're not going to take a risk on a Sato film that's about rape. They're not going to, follow up on any of these movies and go, this synopsis sounds enticing, and just show up for that usually. Yeah. So having you in your local area say, I want to see these films, is probably quite meaningful to one of those local programmers, actually.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, like, it's funny to talk about films like this with the Field of Dreams, if you show it, they'll come sort of thing. But it's really true. I mean, I think part of it too that we didn't really talk about is that, like, I've been programming hardcore films for 3, 4, 5 years now at this point. I've shown all the big ones that have been restored. I've shown a lot of gay ones that are very obscure, and audiences always turn out for them. I think audiences, especially younger, edgier audiences, really want to see this stuff, and there's a really strong demand for it. I mean, last year I started an adult film series at Nighthawk here in New York called Skin Deep, and that was only going to be every other month. They put it in the small theater, and then both of the first 3 screenings all sold out, and now it's a monthly thing that they're putting in the bigger house. Jeez. And so people really do want to see this stuff, and I think that's maybe the next frontier is stuff that never plays in theaters anymore, but should be. And so,
I mean, for many of these smaller towns too that have great art house theaters, places that are generally like forgotten entirely. We're talking like Oklahoma, here in Kansas City, places in small town Georgia that are not able to see a lot of these things. People are hungry for films like this, and to be able to get that crowd out there with other people that are like you is I hate to use the word, but it's one of those ways where it's you seeing it's manifesting your lifestyle in a way that we all sometimes just simply can't do or have not felt the freedom to be able to do. And so it is a way to see validation in some unique ways. And I really hope that it is embraced by some of these smaller theaters and taken a risk on, because I think they'll be surprised that people will want to see these a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at what Harry Guerro and Michael Drambore have been doing with the Gap Theater in Pennsylvania.
So awesome.
I had never even heard of Wind Gap, Pennsylvania before they opened the theater. I still don't know where Wind Gap is. I don't know how far it is from New York or Pittsburgh or Philly or where. Yeah. But they're doing some of the most exciting repertory programming I can think of, and audiences are apparently coming out. And so, it's exciting. They did a Sato double bill the other night, and showing hardcore stuff all the time on film, and just really just going for it, and people want to see it. So
I mean, they seem to be competing literally with like Nubev, with people covering just their programming, people that are never going to show up at their theater but just excited that a theater is doing it. That is when you're doing it right. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Liz, this has been incredible. Thank you for doing this. I'd love to have you back after a few more releases and people can get excited about it, because this is one of those things where if you are not continuously talking about it, this is one of those, I can't say genres. This is like a group of films that could easily be overlooked by people and not championed enough. And so it's something that I'm probably not going to shut up about. So thank you for being amazing.
Of course, Freaks Only. Again, it's got a good ring to it, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I need the muscle shirt that says Freaks Only on the back. I don't know.
Cannot wait to purchase it, and you know that I absolutely will. Thanks for everything. Go follow Everything Muscle below, Everything Liz below, and honestly, I hope to see the Patreon or Substack happen, because I will be signing up myself.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Disconnected Podcast. There's one big thing that you could do to help the show, and that is to leave a rating and review on the podcast service of your choice. Thank you.
The audio commentary. It's a dying art form, but here at One Track Mind, I, your wonky yet affable host Ryan Luis Rodriguez, analyze film through the prism of these embryonic forms of podcasting, one audio commentary at a time. Masterpieces, crapster pieces, live action, animation, cult classics, films literally no one has ever heard of. No track is too small and no track is too big. Join me and my guests from the entertainment world as we keep these features alive every other Tuesday. Hey, who else is going to discuss Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey one week and Citizen Kane the next? Us, that's who. Sure, you have to put up with my voice, but there's a certain give and take in this industry. That's One Track Mind, part of the Someone's Favorite Productions family and available wherever you get your podcasts.
I am Adam Lundy, co-host of They Live by Film, a podcast dedicated to bringing you film discussion and interviews from around the world. Every week, my co-hosts Chris Haskell, Zach Bryant and I discuss a wide range of films, from monumental classics like Vertigo and The Rules of the Game, to the craziest, schlockiest movies ever made like Deathbed and everything in between. We are also lucky enough to have sat down with some of the biggest players in the boutique Blu-ray and film restoration game. If this is your thing, then come hang out with us every Thursday at 7 PM Eastern, wherever you normally stream your podcasts, and now as part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description